idea. So let's say I had a function, we'll call it f of x, and the function f of x was squaring something, okay? And then I have a different function. So we're gonna let g of x equal x plus 1. So the function g of x is x plus 1. All right. Just let's review. If I asked you to evaluate f of -4, what would we do? So we go to the function f of x, we take out the x and we replace it with a -4. So that just would mean -4 squared, which would be 16. All right. Evaluate is what I meant. So what about g of 7? So I would go to the function g of x is x plus 1, and I'd plug in 7 for x, and then I do 7 plus 1 equals 8. Just give me some kind of indicator. Do you remember doing that? Okay. All right. So what a composition of functions is you are doing a function, taking its output, and then putting it in the other function. And so what it would look like is this. We'll do 2 of them. Suppose I asked you to evaluate g of f of 3. So that is right, 2 parentheses, g of f of 3. And then we'll also do the other way, f of g, and just so you see that they're not the same thing. And so first of all, what we want to be careful of is sometimes in math, a parentheses means multiplication. That is not what this means, okay? These are not, you're not taking 2 values and putting them together. What we're going to do is we're going to start in the inside of the function, okay? So the inside of the function, if you have a highlighter or maybe you just want to box it, is f of 3. And what we're going to do is we're going to evaluate that function, okay? What is f of 3? Go back up to my function up here. What is f of 3? 9, okay? So we're going to evaluate that f of 3. It's 9, and I'm going to take out f of 3 and replace it with a 9 now. And now I'm going to evaluate g of 9, and g of 9 would be 9 plus 1, or 10. So a composition of functions is a function within a function. So we take one, we evaluate it, and then we put it in the other. All right, so it is the order in which you do it does matter, because if you do the other function first, you're going to get something different. So this one, f of g of 3, the inside function is g of 3. That's the one I'm doing first. So what is g of 3? Isn't it just 4? Okay, so we're going to take out that g of 3. We figured out what that is, and we're going to replace it with a 4. And then we're going to do f of 4. And what's f of 4? 16? Okay. So just kind of give me an indicator. Do you feel comfortable with that? Can I move on to just explaining or defining what a composition is? Yes, or do you need another example? Give me a thumbs down if you need me to do another example. Okay. So let's just kind of think of this as a big picture. When we're composing the function, we're doing 2 things. So this, in this f first, when I did f first, didn't I square it first? And then I added 1. And so what we can do is, we could say, okay, well, what if I don't want to do it in 2 separate steps? What if I wanted a new function that did both of them? What would that new function be? Well, we need to square it, and then we needed to do what to it? Add 1. So if I said, hey, what's a rule for doing both of those things? Now we're going to talk about how to do that. We would say it's squaring something and then adding 1. And if I said, well, what if I wanted then to do one for f of g of x? Let's see, what did we do with the 3 first? We added 1, and then we squared it. So this one would be, we add 1, put a parentheses around it, and then we square it. And so that's the idea of a composition of functions. So let's write that out. So the composition of the function f to another function g is written in a couple of different ways. So that notation that I was doing before, I like best, but a lot of textbooks will write it differently. So one way you're going to see it written is like that. Or there's a symbol for composition, and it's a little open circle. So F, and so that's not a time sign. It's a little open circle. It's not an O, just a little open circle. G of x, and that little open circle means composition. You will see that written either one of those ways, and so what happens is that you are putting the entire function into the function f of x. Okay. So let's do a couple examples of now not just with numbers, but just with some functions within the function, and then that's where we gotta just practice it a little bit so you can see it. So my question is, what is the rule for f composite g of x, or you could write it as f of g of x. You're going to see I tend to always write it this way, because then I can see like that inside function, which one's the one I'm doing first. That's how I tend to write it. That just makes more sense to me. But if you're writing this one first, the one that you do first is the last one. Okay, so the g of x comes last. And my two rules are f of x is the square root of x plus 7. So f of x is the square root of x plus 7. And g of x is 2x minus 5. Okay. So what I'm going to write is f of g of x equals, I want a new rule that does both of these things. some people can just look at it and do it in their head. I'm going to give you kind of a strategy for doing this, okay? And my strategy is, let's take the thing that we're going to do last, which is the outside. Which function is the outside function? The f, okay? What I would like us to do is we're going to rewrite the function f, but instead of where the x goes, we're going to put a big parentheses to hold its spot. So the function f is the square root of x plus 7. So I'm going to write the square root of something plus 7. Okay. So no longer is this an x. What's going in there is the whole thing g of x. Now I'm going to write that the first time, but I'm never going to write it again, because all of us can see hopefully what g of x is. What is g of x? It's 2x minus 5. So my new function would be the square root of, I'm going to put all of g of x in there. What is it? 2x minus 5 plus 7. Okay. If possible, then we just simplify it. So the only thing I could simplify on this would be the negative 5 plus 7. I would rewrite this as the square root of 2x plus 2. Okay. Let's try this one more. F of g of x, if f of x is x cubed and g of x is x plus 2. Okay, so this time, what's my outer function? It's f. And what is f? Just x cubed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write, and I'm going to hold the spot of x with the parentheses. So what I'm doing is I'm cubing something. And what am I cubing? I'm cubing the entire function g of x. So what am I going to put in that spot? X plus 2. Now in something like this, I don't expect you to simplify, because you don't need to multiply out x plus 2 times x plus 2 times x plus 2. Please do not write x cubed plus 2 cubed, because that's not what it is equal to. Okay, so f of g of x would be x plus 2 cubed. Okay, let's leave that out. If you didn't grab a whiteboard already, grab